Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So I wanted to give my take on the popular FIRE movement, that is financially independent, retire early. Now, this has gained a lot of fame recently amongst the millennial community who are getting into personal finance and trying to navigate their way through personal finance. And the FIRE movement was actually born from a 1992 book called Your Money or Your Life, written by two financial gurus. And the idea here is, for those who aren't familiar, is you want to save up to 70% of your annual income till you get a nest egg. And from that nest egg, you can take 3 to 4% withdrawals each year after you retire and live off those withdrawals. Now, there are a few problems with this, and I know those that swear by this FIRE movement will no doubtedly have some rebuttals, but I just wanted to give my take on this and kind of some of the trapments. So, the idea of building a nest egg and understanding that you can live off of that percentage, we've spoken about that concept a lot, and I'm a big proponent of helping millennials understand this movement. It's very important to understand that you can build a nest egg, and however you build that nest egg, we'll come on to that, but you can build a nest egg, let's say that's a large amount, whether it's $500,000, $1 million or pounds, and you can invest that, which is what the FIRE movement is saying, and you can live off the yield from that. Okay, that's a really important concept, and I encourage everybody to understand that. Now, my challenge is with the RE part of the FIRE movement. That's the retire early, because the financial independence, I think we're all agreed that this is something we need to work towards. We all need to find a way to become financially independent. Now, if the retire early bit is the notion of I am in a position where I can hypothetically retire early, I think that's a fantastic milestone for us to achieve, right? Because my concern is this. So if you're taking the FIRE movement, which is saying save up for 70% of your income, first of all, the majority of people cannot save 10, 15% of their income, let alone 70% of their income. So this is targeting people who are in high-end jobs, okay? Whether maybe you're an engineer at Google or Facebook, or you're working at a top bank, or you're a lawyer or an accountant might work for you, right? But what about the average person? They need to build their wealth, right? Because I feel as though the FIRE movement is focusing a lot on the cash flows at the end when you retire, but we need to build the wealth first, that nest egg, that initial 1 million, 2 million. That's got to be the goal. And then you need a plan to keep growing that. There's no point stopping. You want to grow that so that you can live the life that you want to live on. And this brings me on to my second point, is my idea of financially independent has changed with times. If you asked me at 16, it would have been one figure. If you asked me at 21, it would have been another. And now at 29, it'd be another figure. And so if you're building your next 20, 30-year plan to get to FIRE, to get to a nest egg, and let's say you hypothetically say, I'm going to live off 30K. Okay, I'm going to live off £30,000 and I want to retire at age 40. So if the average life expectancy is, say, 85, you're going to be retired for 45 years and you want to live off 30K for 45 years. Okay, so you need to be able to withdraw 30K. So you can work out what yield you're going to get and you can get your nest egg saved up. Now, what happens if there's a change in your life circumstances? You have some lifestyle inflation that perhaps you go through. Maybe you have, when you started your FIRE movement, you had no plan of getting married or having kids, and suddenly you get married or have a child. Maybe you have extra expenses. Maybe the world economy changes. You end up in a pandemic situation. How does that then reconcile? Let's say you get to you're starting the FIRE movement, you save up £1 million, you go into your first year of retirement and you're due to withdraw your first 4%. Okay, so you're going to take out your 40 grand ready to spend, because that's what you figured out is your yearly amount you need. But then the stock market has gone through a recession. There's a pandemic, the stock market's dropped by 50%, and now your £1 million sitting in an index fund is worth £500,000. But you need £40,000 to live on. So now you need to take out 8% from your pot, which is now not going to be sat in your pot ready to grow back when the stock market rebounds again. So you will very quickly dwindle your account, and that's all that time you've been saving for. My other concern, and again, I'd love to be corrected if I've misunderstood this, is it feels as though you're trading your youth for tomorrow's peace, right? So you're going to sacrifice yourself today. You're going to eat pot noodles and not go on holidays or enjoy your life. And then you're going to spend later, but even then a restricted, capped amount, right? You're never going to be able to spend in that instance more than the £40,000 you've allocated for yourself. So if you want, if you want lifestyle inflation or things change, you're not in a position to be able to pivot because you've budgeted for £40,000 a year for the next 40 years, for the average life expectancy, and then time's up. So where my take on this is we really need to, those that are new to the financial space, we really need to focus on building wealth, and we need to focus on the financially independent section. We need to build our wealth so that we don't need to rely on a job. I'm agreed with that. Yeah, we don't need to work for a certain company in order to be able to earn an income. That makes complete sense. But to be focused on the cash flows, on the RE bit, the retire early bit, I feel like that should just be used as a measuring stone to say, okay, first milestone achieved. Technically, if I wanted to spend only 10 grand a year, I could retire now. I think that gives you a good morale boost. Oh, technically, now that I've got $1 million, if I invested this today, I could live on 40 grand a year. It's a great motivation boost, but it doesn't make sense to stop there, because what if you don't want to live on 40 grand, or what if your circumstances doesn't allow you to live on 40 grand, or what if the market situation means that 4% is no longer 40 grand? What if there's a pandemic, like I said? What if the situation's changed? What if inflation erodes the value of what you thought is a $40,000 lifestyle is no longer a $40,000 lifestyle going forward? So you need to calculate all that backwards as well. And once you've done all that, is it really worth sacrificing today for that future? Instead, would you not rather want to build as much wealth as you can, and then at least you've tried your best to build the wealth and then live within that means? I mean, let's take an analogy. Let's say you're trying to build a company, like all the companies we invest in the stock market. Would you invest in a company that said, we're not interested in building much revenues, actually. We're going to build to 1 billion in revenues, and then we're just going to stop there. And then we're just going to focus for the next 10, 15 years on just cutting costs. And that's our business model. No, because that company, would erode in value to inflation. It's not going to be worth anything. And if anything, something which is not growing is stagnating. There's no stagnation. You're going backwards. And I feel that's the case in the FIRE movement. We need to make sure that we're growing at least at the pace of inflation, and if not more, because generally, as our lives increase, our lifestyle inflation will go up. We'll want to spend more. Like I said, family, children, the environment, things you want will change and evolve. Maybe it will evolve to the downside and you'll spend less, but you need that degree of flexibility in your plan. You can't plan for something for 30 years, follow this FIRE process. You've saved up $1 million and then you think you're good to retire, but it's gone. You need to spend an extra 10 grand a year. Let's say your kid wants to go to university, or you need to buy a car, or any other emergency situation happens in your family or healthcare issue. You're stuck. And at this point, you've retired from your job at your peak, because a lot of the financial FIRE movement is, people want to normally retire in their late 30s / early 40s if they've done well and they've managed to save up that nest egg. And then you've left your job at your peak. Remember, your peak earning is between, your 40s and your 60s, but you've already retired. And then to try remobilize yourself back into the working environment, if you're not somebody who's got your earning from outside of a job, can be really difficult, because maybe you have to reskill, maybe the market's changed, you've got a gap in your CV if you're an employee. These all become problems. So that's my view on the FIRE movement. I think there are a few trappings in the ideology, but I completely appreciate the concept of understanding that if you can get to a milestone of saving up a nest egg, that really does create some mental freedom, that financial independence. I think that's really important for all people who are new to the personal finance space, whether it's the youngsters or people slightly older. It's really important that we understand that, because that will set you free. That's the bit that, if I can get this amount saved up, technically, if I wanted to, if the worst happened, I got ill, God forbid, or something happened in my circumstance, or I was laid off, I could live on 20k, I could live on 30k if I had to. But who wants to stop there? Who knows if that's going to be okay for you 20 years from now? So to plan for that for 30 years' time when you're retired seems like a bit of a trapping. So that's my view on the FIRE movement. Guys, If I've spoke out of turn or missed any of the context, please do correct me in the comments. And I'd love to hear from some of you guys on your views on the FIRE movement, and maybe we can do a follow-up. See you in the next one.